All right, so pretend like every NFL player is available. I'm talking, Aaron Donald, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, and they're all available, and the NFL just does a redraft. All these players are available. You're able to take who you want to take, and it's in the same order as the NFL draft this year. So obviously, Cincinnati would have the number one pick, and they're able to have their go. Any quarterback in the league now, I would assume, or any player in the league, and I would assume they would take Patrick Mahomes one. ESPN did that yesterday. So they had a beat reporter from every city representing every team, and they did a redraft. So they had their choice of who they're going to pick for their teams for their own respective cities. Now, the circumstances here is every team has 4 picks. Each pretend GM, which is that beat writer for that team, had to select a quarterback, a non-quarterback offensive player, and a defensive player. And then the fourth pick was a wild card, so it was kind of open to anything. We looked at this, and we both kind of had some disagreements here, and there are a few questionable picks. There was some that were trending yesterday a little bit, and most notably Drew Lock at 15 to Denver. That one's pretty questionable. How do you feel? What was the biggest surprise for you? Because I have a couple that I'm looking at, and it's questionable to me. But what was the biggest surprise for you?
I mean, I have a couple too, and it's the easiest one is the Drew Lock at 15. I mean,
yeah, that's why that was trending. Makes sense.
His respected team picked him, Denver. So I mean, it makes a little sense. But he's picked above Kyler Murray. He's picked above Matt Ryan. He's picked above Khalil Mack and some of these running backs, and it's just Jimmy G, Christian McCaffrey, I believe. Yeah, I got Christian McCaffrey at 20. Yeah. So he's Josh Allen. Josh Allen's not even in the first round. I think that's a huge surprise. So the Drew Lock one, I like Drew Lock. I think we did in the second half of the season was good, but nowhere near what these guys have accomplished or have done. And I would say other than that, because that's an easy pick, I would say my biggest surprise is not enough quarterbacks being taken in the top 10, because we got the top 4: Mahomes, Lamar, Russell, Lamar, and Deshaun. And then Aaron Donald picked 5, and then we got quarterbacks back at 8 and 9. So with Aaron Donald, it's totally fine that he's the number one. I think we both agree he should be the number one non-quarterback taken.
For sure.
But his position doesn't hold the weight as a quarterback, as a franchise quarterback. You have a chance to get a franchise quarterback. You get him. No matter who is there, it doesn't matter. Aaron Donald might be the greatest defensive player we've ever seen, but his position doesn't hold that value and that weight in today's game to where if I could get an Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to pass up on him. A Dak, I'm going to pass up on him. A Carson Wentz, a Kyler Murray. Like it's just a position value, and I think that's what the biggest surprise for me is. For me, it'd be easy just to pick 8, 9 quarterbacks in a row. And then, we get to Aaron Donald at 10. Now we're cooking. Now we can start to say, all right, there's not that many franchise quarterbacks left, or there's none at all. So now we can start building. Other than that, man, you got to get your franchise quarterbacks first. That's, to me, the biggest surprise.
Yeah, when you look at teams that are successful, it's always for us. Like, we look at teams that are winning or teams that always have a chance. And there was that streak for a minute. I don't know if you remember, but, for 12 to 15 years or whatever it was like you looked at the Super Bowl quarterbacks. It was either Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger. It was like for 12 straight years, it was one of those guys. And then Aaron Rodgers was one of those as well. But so and Drew Brees was another one that was in there. So you're only talking about top 5 quarterbacks in their prime. So so you need one thing you need to win a Super Bowl is a top-notch quarterback. The only one that won, the only 2 quarterbacks that won in that span was Flacco and Eli Manning that I would say aren't in that upper echelon.
No, not at all.
But exactly. But so you know what you need to win, and we see it constantly with these teams that have a lot of talent and they have a decent quarterback, if that's what you want to call it. The Rams with Jared Goff, the 49ers with Jimmy G, because I don't think he was that guy yet last year, and maybe he can be, but he's not that guy yet. The Vikings have had a lot of talent with Kirk Cousins, but he's just not that quarterback that can get you over the top. The Cowboys with Dak Prescott. So the one thing you have, if you put one of these quarterbacks, if you put Aaron Rodgers on the Cowboys, you know how successful they would be. They'd probably be a Super Bowl favorite with all these different teams. So I completely agree with you that, in this scenario, this isn't like you're drafting from college where you don't know what you're getting from a quarterback. So maybe there's a defensive lineman or a linebacker that completely stands out, like a Quentin Williams at Alabama a couple years ago. The New York Jets had to take him, or Chase Young at OSU. where the Redskins took him second overall. It's because you don't know necessarily what you're getting out of these quarterbacks. But now it's like you know exactly what out of these quarterbacks. Now, obviously, maybe if you want to take a Joe Burrow, then you still don't know. But that's up to you what you want to do. But you know exactly what you're getting, and you know that the recipe what it takes to win a Super Bowl. So you have to take one of these guys. Like you have to take what you know for sure. Because if you take an Aaron Donald, then now you're betting on the next couple rounds. You're taking a risk. Who's gonna be there? And another thing that I didn't mention earlier is that the rest of these rosters. Obviously, you have 4 picks. The rest of your roster is supposed to be average talent. So you just have in your mind that the rest of your team is going to be average talent. Then you have these 4 picks, and you can do what you want with that. But Aaron Donald, then you're kind of taking a risk. What you're going to do, and then they did, and in the later rounds, they took Kirk Cousins. So you're pairing Aaron Donald with Kirk Cousins. I don't think, because is that better than Aaron Donald with Jared Goff? I don't know, and we already saw what happened with that. So no, you have to. And then somebody that surprised me that was pretty low. I don't think he should be up there in the top 5 to 8, like you mentioned. I do think that should be predominantly quarterbacks, but Khalil Mack at 24 is entirely too low. I think he should be right with Aaron Donald. I think he's as dominant as Aaron Donald. Really, if you're gonna say maybe a little bit less, but like. He's that guy where it's just he's gonna cause havoc wherever he's at. So he's at 24, and he's behind guys like Sam Darnold, which maybe if you talk about the quarterback aspect, sure, but I think he outweighs that at that.
Yeah, but we're talking about proven. We're talking about proven guys. So.
Yeah. So Khalil Mack, I think he needs to be higher. I think he's entirely too low. I think he should be right there with Aaron Donald, not at 5 because I think Aaron Donald's too high, but right around the 8 to 12 range. I think he should be in there. And then Aaron Rodgers at 12 is very low too. I think a lot of people are going to look at Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott's ahead of Carson Wentz because they're always going to be tied together because they were taken in the same draft. But both those guys are ahead of Aaron Rodgers, which is very questionable. Drew Brees is ahead of Aaron Rodgers. So those are a couple things to look at as well.
We're getting a lot of Aaron Rodgers slander lately from PFF I don't think Aaron Rodgers needs any motivation, but that's still one of the greatest. I mean, to me, the most talent I've ever seen by a quarterback. But another,
I would question that now with Pat Mahomes, but he's right there.
Yeah. Pat Mahomes is ruining that take from me. So I think other than the Drew Lock and the quarterbacks, I think we should be about 7, 8, 9 in a row. Get your franchise quarterback because you know what you get from your franchise quarterback. They put in you position year in, year out. Doesn't mean you can't necessarily compete. Doesn't mean you can't compete with a guy like a Jimmy G because we've seen it. But get your franchise quarterback when you can. But another guy I think is way too high is Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, we haven't seen him play a full season and since his horrific injury. I mean, he did great. Would he go 6-0 or 6-1 when he filled in last year for the Saints? But, they didn't have him do overly too much, so it wasn't overwhelming for him. So we haven't seen him put together a full season and have to carry a team. Because personally, I don't think Carolina's going to be really good this year. I just don't. I want to see Teddy Bridgewater prove that he could play a full year and do that because there's no reason why he should be over Josh Allen. Like, I think that's – or even a Kirk Cousins. Like, we even just went on a little slander of Kirk Cousins. He shouldn't be over Kirk Cousins.
He shouldn't be. Absolutely not.
Absolutely. There's no way that he's right behind Kyler Murray. Like, he's not above those. I wouldn't put him over Baker Mayfield. Like, I just wouldn't. Like, I have to see from Teddy.
I wouldn't either.
I have to see him because even when we did see Teddy Bridgewater, he was that game manager, that Alex Smith type of quarterback.
Very right.
We're not saying he can't play the game. But with the potential of these other guys or some of these other guys that we've seen with Teddy Bridgewater's injury, we just got to see. And I think that's just overly too high. That's just really too high for my liking.
No, Teddy Bridgewater is way too high. I guess Pittsburgh's beat reporter loved what he did last year with New Orleans, like you said, but that team was very good too. Like Kirk Cousins wins his decent amount of games in Minnesota, but nobody's thinking he's a top quarterback, and he should be taken ahead of Teddy Bridgewater, and he's not, like you mentioned. But
they got
so even quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins should be ahead, but definitely when you talk about like the Jimmy G's and the Matthew Stafford, like guys like that should definitely be ahead as far as quarterbacks go.
Yeah, they got Teddy at 14th ranked quarterback. I don't think he's the 14th ranked quarterback, not for me.
No, definitely, no, for sure. And I mean, he's barely a starter in my eyes, but I think he'll do decent in Carolina. I think they may go 8-8. 9-7. Who knows? But they're not going to be any better than they were with Cam, in my opinion. Yeah, and it is a tough division. But yeah, the receivers. One thing I want to point out is that last week we did go on a little. One of our topics was about receivers being a little bit overvalued on PFF's top 50 players list. There were three receivers in the top 10, and there were 3 quarterbacks in the top 10. So we both disagreed with that. There's absolutely no reason to even, those positions aren't comparable. So if there's 3 receivers in the top 10, you better have 6 or 7 quarterbacks in the top 10. And these beat reporters seem to kind of have been on the same drift that we're on. They feel about the same way, because the first receiver taken in this was Michael Thomas at 22. And then you have DeAndre Hopkins at 26 and Mike Evans at 27, Tyreek Hill at 29. So the receivers aren't taken until late 20s or until early 20s. But I think that's something that I did want to point out, because obviously they agree with kind of how we were looking at things last week.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think they valued him. They valued him well. I mean, not necessarily like maybe the order or maybe some of the guys they selected, but I think where they have them, late starting in the 20s and to the late 20s. I think that's perfect. Not in the top 10s, none of that.
Right. I just don't know about Mike Evans being a third receiver taken. I think I like a couple guys over him. Tyreek Hill, one of them. But Odell Beckham, I would have over him. Julio, I would have over him. Julio's not even on this list, so that's another one.
Odell Beckham one. I would pump the brakes on that one. He just been injured. Excuse me.
I'm looking at the ceiling. But
yeah, I mean, we've seen the ceiling. Now it's kind of diminished. But I still like Odell. I think he can put on when he needs to. He's just been hurt. He's got to get back to being healthy and having fun again.
Interesting list, to say the least, though.
Yeah, for sure.